What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Martin. Today I'm going to be reading my college Common App essay that got me into Harvard, Dartmouth, Rice, Brown, and many other great schools. So let's begin. First I will be reading my Common App essay, the one that I sent to all my schools, and then I will be reading the additional information essay. I will also be giving some tips to help you guys structure your essay or do a better job so you can get a better chance of getting into these schools like Harvard, Dartmouth, Brown, etc. So let's begin. I failed. I wasn't happy about the puzzled faces across the auditorium. The pensive frowns weren't exactly pensive. They were looking at the questions with absolute perplexity. I was standing in front of the projection screen, confident that my problems had been delicately crafted to perfection. My sole purpose, to get all of them to appreciate the art of challenge, was a failure. It was 6 o'clock, the day before the 10th annual Math Olympics. The sun was already setting and my friend and I were still at school. Among the dimly lit classrooms and deserted halls, books sprawled open and computer screens overflowing with tabs were our only source of inspiration. With the marker in hand, we stared blankly at the crowded whiteboard, brimming with ideas that we could not quite consolidate. This time we weren't trying to find answers, but to create problems, specific types of problems that I was already familiar with, challenges that had always captivated my attention and awestruck me with their complexity. Doing them on my own or collaborating with my peers, I had solved these problems before. When tackling these types of problems, we disrupt the order of a clean whiteboard by drawing messy diagrams, writing crooked formulas. For a moment, we pause and stare at the mess in absolute silence. Our brains are quietly energizing, thinking individually, searching for clues. After what would seem like an awkward silence to a spectator, we vigorously start exchanging ideas. We shout out the clues, paths, and realizations we find every time we look at the problem from a different perspective. The exchange escalates as we get closer to the solution. The final idea comes to mind. We start scribbling our way towards the solution. My hand starts shaking, my heart rate accelerates. The moment of glory commences when we circle the answer, and for an instant we start jumping and dancing across the room. After a few seconds of joy, we stop abruptly to silently stare at our work, full of scribbles, lines, diagrams, maps, equations, and variables that would look like a mess to anyone. I see art. It was 8 o'clock, and the sun had already set, but the ambience seemed to get darker. Time was running out, and we had nothing. We naively decided that we didn't need to spend that much time researching how to make good math problems. We knew how to identify them. We were used to solving them. We had seen how they worked. They were unpredictable, so why would there be any procedure to follow? Taking a deep breath, we allowed our minds to flow, and we crafted a set of difficult yet critical questions to make the next day a day of thinking. In the end, we saw the chaos on the board. It was beautiful. Now that I look back at the night before the Math Olympics, although the problems were a total failure, I found it fascinating to construct them. This new guilty pleasure paved the way for a small club where I would explore the beauty of math, the art of making challenging problems, and the intricacies of education. By being a teacher and learning from my Olympic mistake, I would learn to find the right level of difficulty, polish the complexity, and refine the clarity of my problems. Making math problems made me realize I could extrapolate the strategies of mathematical challenges to exercise problem solving in other activities. I began crafting challenges for me and my peers to aid in the learning process, for my teachers to share my examples and conclusions about the importance of challenge in education, and for my English students to develop sustainable cognitive habits from a well-designed curriculum. The Math Olympics was my rite of passage. I was no longer finding X, I was hiding it. I was no longer playing other songs, I was composing my own. Well, now that I read it again, I just feel stupid and naive and I don't know. Whenever I read essays that I wrote in the past, again, I feel cheesy, cliche. But oh well, I mean, it wasn't bad. Although I wouldn't start an essay with I failed. I failed that. Oh, so dramatic. And I think that if somebody hadn't, like, if someone doesn't read my application as a whole, then the essay would be like weird, because there are so many like hidden things, like hidden messages, or like just things that are part of my, that are included in my essay that are not really explained, but would only be self-explanatory if the person reading my essay would had already read my full application. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, like, the tips I would give someone to write the perfect essay is, don't be too cliche, like me, because yeah, just don't be cliche. That's like cheesy. Yeah, don't use cliches. Please, just do yourself a favor. At least if you want to read them later, you don't want to write cliches. What else? I think be passionate, like show that you're passionate. I think that's something I would highlight from my essay. I was pretty passionate about math. I'm still pretty passionate about math. I love education. I love problem solving. I thought it was quite unique. I mean, and I mean, I think not only the experience, which was making the problems and hosting the Math Olympics, was unique, but also like creating problems and liking creating problems, math problems. Yeah, I mean, I don't think many people would write about that. So yeah, try to choose like topics that are unique, you know. And yeah. Okay, now for my second essay, which is the additional information section, which is a section that I decided to like just submit a whole other essay because I wanted to include a little bit of my culture, because in my whole app I didn't include like my culture that much. So I decided to write this other essay, and I feel like it's like another Common App essay that I sent to them, because it really, I mean, I would switch them from the additional information in the Common App essay. I would actually switch them because I think they're both good. So let me read it. Additional information essay. Magical realism, the Latin American literary genre that made Gabriel Garcia Marquez the most recognized Colombian author, has been unique for showcasing the unbelievable reality that has occurred and still occurs in Latin America. The enthralling, heart-wrenching, and autochthonous stories, although they are poetically enhanced to seem out of this world, are not as hyperbolical as an outsider would think they are. Colombia just ended a civil war of 58 years against a terrorist group that lives in the jungle, commonly known as the FARC. They used to kidnap innocent people in their daily life activities while grocery shopping or even going to church, and hold them for ransom. Place deathly mines against the military, displace indigenous groups from their territory, and extort the states to gain political power. We have capos that lead double lives. They publicly enjoy the luxuries of the high bourgeoisie during the day, but go to the poorest neighborhoods during the night to hire young boys as their personal hitmen. Living in precarious conditions, the boys must agree to carry out these immoral jobs because it is their only way to survive. My country has suffered such a long-lasting epoch of tears, rivers of blood, and eternal suffering that one of the wars was universally titled La Violencia, or the violence, with uppercase V, because that was a definition of pure grotesque, cruel violence. Despite suffering through detrimental historical events, we still prevail. Despite the pressure of the stereotypes that expect us to give up and perish, we do the opposite. Our conditions were atrocious and our resources were scarce. But ironically, this was what catalyzed our development, because in times of need, ingenuity is born. We used the little that we had left and our drive to create a country. The period of industrialization, civilization, and modernization was due to the resourcefulness of our people. Colombians have that sixth sense we call malicia indígena, that roughly translates to indigenous malice, that although it has a negative connotation because of its satirical background, it is a significant trait of ours. Malicia indígena is that thing that is so unique to Colombians that it is impossible to define. It is the creativity, cleverness, and intuition we have to solve problems when we don't have the appropriate resources. For example, the communities that live in the Altiplano Cundiboyacense that don't have any means of transportation, not even roads or defined paths, have hung up wires from their houses to bigger towns to transport themselves or send provisions in costales or sacks. This way, they can run errands and their kids can get to school. This need sparked their inventiveness, and it is so unbelievable and creative that it's almost funny that a person could come up with that. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with eosinophilic esophagitis, a condition that limits my diet, for which I cannot eat gluten, soy, egg, and dairy. Colombia has not arrived to the point where I can go to the grocery store and buy a vegan gluten-free cheesecake or a pizza that satisfies my needs. The scarcity in options forces me to make the best of what I have to be able to feed myself. However, it was my malicia indígena that inspired me to become a creative thinker with the basic ingredients that I have in my kitchen, like rice, potato, quinoa, chia, oil, water, sugar, salt, and just a simple blender to make full, delicious, nutritious meals, cakes, shakes, pastries, frosting, sauces, and the delightful cheesecake I've been craving. Colombia is magical realism because of its rich and tortuous history and its ability to get up in the most creative ways. And its ability to get up in the most creative ways is unbelievable. Oops, I missed a comma there. Today, I'm proud and thankful for the malicia indígena, the heritage that my ancestors have given me and my people have inspired me to cultivate. Although Colombia carries a negative reputation, I'm not just proud but privileged to be another Colombiano, Chichombiano, Cafetero, and Nico. So yeah, that was my additional information section. I really like it. I really like it. I would have put that as my main essay. But I wanted to highlight like that I'm a math person, so yeah, I put the other one. But this essay just is very like important to me. I don't know why. It's like the reason why I didn't put it as the main essay is because I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm this very special kid that has dietary restrictions, so please accept me because I'm gonna be sad and lonely. Yeah, so like I didn't want to use like my diet conditions to like try to get into school. I wanted to use like my education, my thinking, my creativity or something like that. But this essay, like, I really like it. So yeah. Tips, maybe sometimes you won't like it, but I think it's very important to always include and remember your culture. Remember like the people that made you, that have like helped you, that have like shaped you, that have shaped your thinking, that have helped you become who you are. I think that's very important to recognize. Since I'm an international student, I feel it more strongly because like I've lived in Colombia my whole life. But for like, I would say like Latinos that live in the US, I think it's very important to remember their culture if they identify with it. So yeah, I think that's something that's very important. Other stuff, I don't know. I think, again, show that you're passionate about something. And yeah. So thank you guys for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. I hope you liked my essays. If you need any help essay writing, I'll probably make a video with like tips on how to create the best essay or something like that. But yeah, please, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And yep, see you in the next video. Bye bye.